5?
Do they even have 5 spells in trap? Like, what could they possibly be?
All right, it looks like the die roll has been cast. I didn't get to see who won it quite yet, but now the players are drawing their hands, and we will shortly be able to see who is going to go first.
Both these decks typically do want to get started, you know, story of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But the Maliss deck in particular is so strong when it's able to go first, and opening up the White Rabbit, not the perfect start, but it is definitely one that you want.
Yeah, this opening White Rabbit is going to let him set a trap, a Maliss trap from his deck. The Maliss traps can be activated to turn their set by banishing a Maliss monster. Probably going to go for Maliss TB11 because it lets you special summon a Maliss monster from the deck. This kind of opens them up to being stopped by something like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, potentially. A card that doesn't stop Dormouse since it just banishes from the deck. And then all the Maliss monsters, when they're banished, you can pay 300 life points for the main monsters, 900 life points for the link monsters, but they summon themselves when they get banished.
Yeah, it can be quite expensive, but because of the effects of later Maliss cards to be activated, you do get a lot of those life points back, so not something you really want to be worried about.
True.
Something to note here, so a typical play for Maliss is to set any spell or trap before you normal summon your monster to bluff already having TB11 or any of the other Maliss traps, just to try to make
dissuade.
your opponent, dissuade your opponent from activating infinite permanents or the like. But we didn't see Kamal do that here.
Nope,
so I think
not.
that could be telling in a couple of ways. Either he doesn't have any spells and traps in his hand that he can afford to set, or he's trying to dissuade his opponent from thinking that he will do something like that and then do it in following games.
Yeah, the mind games have already begun. But that TB11 is going to banish the Hare to summon Dormouse from the deck, and then since the not the Hare,
the Rabbit.
The Rabbit. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Rabbit pays the 300, summons itself back. He's going to link both those monsters into Haggard Lizardos. Haggard Lizardos can banish a monster from the graveyard to change as a cost to change the monster's attack to that monster you banished original attack. But essentially, what he's doing is just banishing the Dormouse to summon it back to the field. So you're essentially climbing through your links with these effects. Because you want to get to all the Maliss Link monsters are all Link 3 monsters, and you want to be able to get to something like Red Ransom or White Binder.
Exactly. The biggest choke point of the Maliss strategy is to make sure they don't get to the Link 3s. Because once you get access to either Red Ransom or, more importantly, White Binder, you set up most of your plays to be able to play on your opponent's turn. So you just want to cut them off from that point, and Kamal's in a pretty good position because look like there's no interruptions this far.
Yeah, I would think he doesn't have too much from the hand in terms of interaction if nothing has been played just yet. But it does seem like he is considering his options at every moment. But now it places his hand face down. Kamal's on to his next move. He's taking a sec to think.
This guy gets his 2 burn.
So
yes.
Now he's using the Dormouse effect. The monster you summon with TB11 can't use the effect on the field, but since it was sent to the graveyard, banished, and summoned again, he can now use that Dormouse effect to banish Chessy Cat from the deck. And then Maliss Chessy Cat will be able to pay 300 life points to special summon it to the field.
That's all 3 names now, paying 900 total to activate every main deck monster effect of the Maliss. But there are still a few effects remaining from the extra deck to get a couple more extenders.
So going straight into White Binder here, no Red
very
Ransom.
Interesting.
Nothing on summon. Like the White Binder stuff.
Looks like he is considering like things like Nibiru the Primal Being maybe in the hand and want to make sure he can access a trap card potentially. Want to just have that White Binder online because having White Binder in your graveyard or your banished is how you're going to interact and play during your opponent's turn. He goes and uses the effect of White Binder to set a trap card from his deck, a Maliss trap, and he's going to set GWC06, which lets you special summon a Maliss from your graveyard or banishment.
Yeah, and then you get to gain life points if you happen to control a Link 3 Maliss at resolution, which is going to. This is the most important effect to have on your opponent's turn because it allows you to reset up the White Binder and play again. And now we're going to be activating the Chessy Cat to banish Maliss and Underground to draw 2 cards, which, you know, typically if you didn't go for Red Ransom, it was pretty indicative that he would already have that card in his hand, so maybe he has multiple.
True, that could be the case, yeah. Because right now, Maliss Red Ransom can add any Maliss spell card, which is only Maliss and Underground. For now. All right, so now we'll see where Kamal goes next with this. He has a Link 3 and 1 monster in the field. He's going to send both those to the graveyard to perform another Link summon. Let's see if he goes for something like SP Little Knight, maybe. Oh, he's just going to go straight into Nightmare Griffin. Okay.
This makes sense. He's going to link it away because it's a Light Fiend.
Oh, we're seeing the connections.
Good.
So now the Nightmare Griffin, putting it in the graveyard is huge because later on you're going to be able to make that brand new card out of Supreme Darkness, Abawa Q, the Lightless Shadow, and summon it back during the opponent's turn potentially. But it bridges the Fiendsmith cards into the deck. So even beyond playing around stuff like Artifact Lancia, we're seeing the connection of the 2 engines together. Really cool.
Setting up some follow-up here. Now, because you have activated the effects of the banished Maliss monsters, you are locked into link summoning, which means you're not going to be going into the typical Fiendsmith plays here. You're not going to get any value from something along the lines of Fiendsmith sequence or being able to make any rank 6 monsters, but you have it set up for next turn.
Very true. So he is going to add Malice and Underground off Terraforming. Malice and Underground can banish from the hand, deck, or graveyard. He's going to banish that Malice White Binder, which allowed him to pay 900 life points to special summon it back to the field and draw a card. Beautiful effect. Love drawing cards. Love drawing cards. And then here is the About Q, the Lightless Shadow, right out of Supreme Darkness. I just got my Quarter Century Secret Rare, and I couldn't be happier. It looks beautiful. One of my favorite cards out of Supreme Darkness. And I think I'm expecting to see a lot of it here this weekend. Because even though it says you need a Fiend monster, there's a lot of Fiend monsters from the extra decks you're able to incorporate into a lot of decks that potentially might not have Fiend monsters.
Yeah, especially since the popularity of the Fiendsmith cards, you know, there are plenty of Fiend monsters everywhere right now.
So he's going to use the effect of About Q. During the main phase, he can discard a card from his hand to either destroy a card in the field or banish itself until the end phase and special summon back a light or dark monster from the graveyard.
Looks like he's going to be summoning back that Fiendsmith Engraver, and because he discarded the Lacrima effect will trigger in the graveyard to summon himself back to the field.
Fabled Lurry.
Sorry, yeah. You know,
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, yes.
But this is the same. I like this. This is the same setup that I go for in my mouse, like where IP Masquerena with the About Q coming back. Not only can the About Q summon back the Nightmare Griffin, it's also extra insurance if something goes wrong with GWC. You have another layer to bring back White Binder potentially. And the reason why summoning White Binder is so important, not only can you banish 3 cards from either player's graveyard, by banishing your own White Rabbit, you're able to set a trap card from your deck.
Yeah, typically you're going to be setting the 07, which allows you to have an additional interruption on your opponent's turn by banishing a card non-targeting, but also getting yourself that follow-up because it adds a monster to your hand.
Yeah, I love About Q, the Lightless Shadow. So good. But the first move here from Emilio is going to be a Bonfire. This is going to let him grab potentially... Let's see what he's going for.
It's either Ice or X, and because of the Mitsurugi cards, it's almost always going to be X here. Oh, it actually is Ice. I was wrong.
That's why I held myself back on saying, but I didn't want to make a guess because it's usually always wrong depending on the hand. But Ice Ryzeal, very strong card.
I feel like that's telling, though. That usually just means you already have X, when assuming you're playing Mitsurugi cards, right?
Cool effect.
Okay, you're going to be using the Fua now to, to account for the IP. Unfortunately, that has to have been the 6th card.
I was say, you gotta love Multami Fual's being your 6th card off the top. But Fual's effect, because it will, with IP Masquerena, he will be summoning from his extra deck. Now, the normal summon of Ice is going to be met by a Bao Q, so he's going to special summon back the Nightmare Griffin, and now Ice will resolve to special summon a level 4 Ryzeal from the deck to the field.
Right, and it will not be able to activate its effect because it will not be linked to anything. So there is a copy of X.
Okay. Anything on resolution?
No.
2 level 4 monsters are represented here, but he will not be able to activate anything until he deals with the Griffin. But now that the Griffin is represented on the field, it gives him the opening to use X from hand to try to get remove it with the effect of the Aggregator.
Yeah, be able to negate the effect of Nightmare Griffin potentially, yeah.
Still will not be able to use the X on the field, but at least will have access to the remainder of his deck, assuming that the Aggregator resolves.
Gonna see an overlay coming down. Gonna make a rank 4 monster. He is gonna exceed summon out Detonator. Okay.
That's fine.
Detonator's pretty big.
Looks like he might be potentially trying to take down Griffin in the battle phase. If he has something to stop GWC 06, it could be solid for him here.
When we into battle?
Yeah.
So in battle before he attacks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it looks like he is allowing him to go into the battle phase because at the beginning of the battle phase, Maliss thinking.
GWC.
So in the beginning of the battle phase,
resolves.
we're going to use 06, going to summon out that White Binder linked to something. That's all that matters.
Yep.
And now the White Binder is going to be able to activate his effect, gaining 2,300 as well from the effect of the GWC.
Yep, gains those life points. Very crucial. Get to give back all those life points that you had to pay to summon back your monsters. Now White Binder can banish 3 cards from either player's graveyard on summon. He's going to probably go for... See, it looks like he's going for White Rabbit and Dormouse, and yeah, one of the trap cards. It's nice to banish the trap cards, so if you do get all 3 banished, you get that boost from Malice and Underground, but you also can shuffle it back with Heartscriptor and then reset them later on potentially as well.
Arguably the more important effect. I feel like I never want to banish the GWC 6. Like,
Usually not, yeah.
Affect the White Rabbit.
Okay, so now since the White Rabbit is summoned, he's going to be able to set a trap on summon. And as we mentioned earlier, you can activate those traps to turn their set by banishing a Malice monster. And
is
MTP07 is going to not only allow him to add a monster from his deck to hand, if he controls that Maliss Link 3 afterwards, when it resolves, he can banish a card on the field. And just getting rid of this detonator could be enough here. We're here.
Opting to do this all in the battle phase, not giving himself the option to go for IP Masquerade into something along the lines of Hard Scripter here. So he's going to be forced to use the 07, and will likely, yeah, he has to banish the White Rabbit here, otherwise the 07 will not be able to banish, because at resolution there needs to be a Link 3 monster on the field for it to be used that second part of its effect. And yep, we're just going to be banishing the detonator here. So most of Kamal's interruptions that were face-up have been used. There's still the IP Masquerena, but otherwise a lot of the interruptions have been accounted for. Can Emilio take care of the rest of it in main phase 2? Oh, it looks like that he does not have enough here. He is conceding, and Kamal takes game 1.
Or if Kamal's going to be able to take a 2-0 victory in round 1 here at YCS Orlando.
Yep.
All right, Emilio, show me what you got. But
there's a drop face Purulia.
Before he can play, Kamal has the Purulia. Purulia pretty good against Ryzeal.
Yeah, arguably the best one of the 3 that you could have.
Oh, Emilio just sets one and passes.
Not giving any cards to Kamal here, so already discarding card. This is a problem that I've had with Maliss throughout the tournament, is that they might just not have a starter, but we are starting with Fiendsmith track here, so being able to lead with the Fiendsmith cards. The Maliss cards, they do have that restriction when they are using their banish effects, but it's only for the rest of the turn, so if you get to start with your Fiendsmith card, you are off to the races.
Definitely. Going to add that Fabled Glory, discard it with Tract, and then it special summons itself back to the field, as we have seen many times since the release of the Fiendsmith cards in Infinite Forbidden last year, right around the NAWCQ.
Now, I'm interested to see where Kamal is going with his Fiendsmith engine. Is he trying to lead up with something along the lines of High King Caesar?
We'll have to see. I doubt that he would be able to fit in and have room for something like Agman Day to like put on a lot of damage really quickly.
Yeah, the Maliss extra deck is a lot more demanding, I'd say, than the Ryzeal one.
Yep. Here comes Lackman. The Crimson Tears is going to let him send Fiendsmith Engraver to the graveyard.
Getting all that follow-up potentially set up that Fiendsmith is famous for.
All right, now let's see what his next move. Does he have any Maliss cards in his hand? Or is it just going to be the Fiendsmith engine he's going to be utilizing here? So he's going to put back the Fabled Glory to the deck to special summon Fiendsmith Engraver from the graveyard.
Kamal has been playing this game incredibly tight so far, even in this round 1. So taking note of what we saw in game 1 here, he played around the Mulcharmy Fualos that was activated on his opponent's turn even, did not use the IP Masquerade, and also made sure to let the battle phase happen, use all his effects in the battle phase to play around something along the lines of Triple Tactics Talents. So he's very aware of what cards could be in his opponent's strategy, because he did not get interrupted on his turn 1. He expects probably there's more powerful spell cards. What do you think he thinks that one set is?
I mean, anytime I see one set from my opponent, I'm always like, well, with no other cards, you wouldn't think infinite permanents because they would just hold it in the hand potentially. I mean, you got to think maybe like Forbidden Droplet or something similar along those lines. I mean, worst case, Artifact Sanctum or something even scarier. But yeah, you're looking at something that probably has like effect negation as opposed to like removal.
Yeah, it looks like he does have a copy of Sequence in his extra deck here. He went into the battle phase first, hit some damage, and now he's trying to potentially set up.
Well, it looks like he is going to just shuffle back all 3 of his Light Fiends, including an Engraver, so that means Fiendsmith Desiree coming down.
Yeah, he's really respecting whatever this set could be.
Dangerous game, because, I mean, maybe he does have playable cards and decided not to play them because of Fualos, and so maybe the Desiree won't be enough, but we'll have to see. So he's going to use Fiendsmith Sequence Effect on the field to equip itself to Desiree.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about. Maliss, famous for just not having enough engine cards.
Yeah, if you don't draw a Maliss card, you can't do too much, but luckily the Fiendsmith cards at least gives him some points of interaction. But gonna start with Ryzeal Cross.
Interesting. That's, you know, not particularly live until there is an Xyz monster on the field.
But now as soon as there is, he will be able to negate a monster effect, so getting himself situated and prepared.
Yeah, and just passing, interesting.
Rough plays, just tough draws here for Emilio.
Well, I got a peek at the hand here.
But the best part about Maliss is if you do draw 2 of the 3 trap cards, they are useful to get your engine online on your turn 3. And that is what we're going to be seeing here as he activates MTP 07 to add Maliss Dormouse to the hand.
That was arguably the best one to have in this situation because you do not need the 07 for any part of your main play. So now you get to just essentially play as if you open the Dormouse. And just chaining the Lancia here, honestly, I don't think Kamal's even that upset about it. He hasn't had any real way to play in quite some time.
I mean, you can have all the Lancias in the world. If you don't have any Ryzeal cards, that's fine with me. Yep.
Although both these decks are really good at playing with just one card as soon as they find it.
True. One Ice Ryzeal could change everything here for Emilio if he can force out that Desiree, which I'm assuming he has something to do with the Desiree already. Some sort of effect negation potentially, but...
Yeah, arguably if he did have something along the lines of Forbidden Droplet, that it would have been good typically.
On a sequence or something?
Yeah, well, even just into the Desiree, but Kamal had the option with the trap card, but likely will not have another one at this point. Yep, just going to be sneaking in some more damage here.
900, so 30.
So in the previous turn, it was 18 from the Engraver as well as Lacrima, and now it is the, what is it, 28 from Desiree?
28 plus 6.
9?
Yeah. It's a decent amount of damage.
And then, well, it's one of them. It's Sword Ryzeal.
Sword Ryzeal is the worst one you want to summon, but it's going to be met by Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring.
That could potentially turn on Triple Tactics Talents. Does Emilio have one of those powerful spell cards?
Is it a bluff face down? Has he been holding Triple Tactics Talents face down this whole time? Nope, it's in the hand.
And then that's going to be met with the Desiree, and that is enough!
He just has max